Okay, good evening, uh, ladies and gentlemen. You are all welcome to another section. Let's pray the network will not disturb us on this section. So we will be waiting for others. We will start the business any moment from now. Please tell your friend that we have opened the class. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, you can check all our past sessions on our YouTube channel. When you get to the YouTube channel, subscribe. If you're on video section, you may be wondering or looking for another video. Quickly navigate to live. YouTube have different sectors. Video, short, live. Click on live. You will see all our live video so that you can proceed and start learning from there. This evening, we are going to look at budgets and budget processes, also procedure. This evening call is not only meant for a promotion examination, but even for personal and for official use. Please, like we always said, let your pen and paper be beside you. Make sure you jot something so that if you want to ask question, you will not ask question outside the box. So let your question be strictly on this topic. If you have any personal issue, you can call on the facilitator behind to resolve that. But on this call, we are particular on knowledge sharing. Once we get to 300, we can start the business of the day. Good evening, ma. Let's hear your voice, ma, so that we know that you are audible, ma.
Good evening, sir. Good evening, everyone. My name is Bukola Benusi.
All right. Please, participants, if facilitators' voice is audible and you see the slide, can you make use of your emojis? Let's see your emojis to confirm you see the slide and the audio is audible. All right. Thank you so much for that compliment. Perfect. Okay. Perfect. Okay. All right. So we're almost there. So once again, our rules and regulation, please don't write on the screen. Don't distract others. If you know you are not here to learn, don't disturb those who are ready to learn. Don't distract us here, please, so that we won't force to remove you. Okay, let's proceed to the business of the day. As we all know that this segment of promotion exercise lecture series are sponsored by Association of Senior Civil Servants of Nigeria. They were the one that came to our aid, that expanded the capacity of our Zoom to 1,000, so that it can accommodate every one of us. So before we start the business of the day, we need to invite the chairman of the union, as usual, to just give us the opening speech and prayer, if possible. So as I'm calling on the chairman of the union, I want you to please usher him with emojis. Please usher him with emojis. Mr. Chairman, sir, are you with us? Good evening, sir. Let's hear from you. Mr. Chairman, is Mr. Chairman there?
I'm
For me
here.
to see. All
Good
right, all
evening.
right. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. Good evening, coordinator, knowledge of, and good evening, everybody. Yeah, I want to use this opportunity to thank and appreciate our facilitator, my sister, for taking time out uh, to be with us on this call, and I want to appreciate you for coming, and also to all the participants. Like I mentioned, this exercise is just to improve our performance and for better service delivery to the citizen and the residents of Lagos State. So let's keep calm and let's be focused. I'm believing that what we have prepared for is going to be successful at the end of the day. And on behalf of the entire leadership of Association of Senior Civil Servants of Nigeria, Lagos State branch, I want to wish you a successful outing at the end of the assessment. Congratulations in advance. Thank you.
All right. Let your emojis keep on coming to accept that prayer. Prayer is the key. No shaking. No shaking. Next level is yours. We will meet there at the next level in the name of God. Okay. So business of the day. So good evening, distinguished colleague, and welcome to today's session of the Public Service Knowledge Hub in collaboration with the Association of Senior Civil Servants of Nigeria, Lagos State Chapter. Tutorial series with a very important topic for every civil servant, especially those preparing for the 2026 promotion exercise. Understanding the budget process. The budget is is the engine that drives government program, project, and service delivery across every MDA. Understanding how the budget is prepared, analyzed, approved, implemented, and monitored helps us work more effectively, align our departmental plan with government priorities, and contribute intelligently to decision making. We encourage all participants to stay attentive, take note, and engage fully in this discussion. This knowledge is essential for excellent performance on the job and during promotion assessment. It is my honor to introduce our facilitator for this session, Mrs. Bukola Ogbenusi, Deputy Director Statistics, Budget Department, Ministry of Economic Planning and Budget, Lagos State. Mrs. Ogbenusi is a seasoned public finance and budget specialist with years of experience in fiscal planning, statistics analysis, budget coordination, and government expenditure management. She plays a, a critical role in the budget development process in Lagos State, contributing to data-driven decisions that shape government policy as well as span budget formulation, performance monitoring, statistical reporting, making her this important topic. Tonight, she'll be speaking on understanding the budget process. Ladies and gentlemen, with your emojis, please join me in welcome our facilitators tonight, Mrs. Bukola Ogbenusi. Let me see your emojis, or you do want to see her. If you don't want to see her, let's end the call. All right. Let your emojis keep on coming to usher her in, because it's not easy. I gave her short notice, and she said, okay, no problem. I'm going to look for a space for you out of our schedule. Good evening, ma. Are you still with us, ma?
Yes, good evening, sir. Thank you so much for that rousing welcome. Good evening, everyone.
Yes, ma.
Before we get into it, I would like to say a very big congratulations in advance, because I believe all of you are passed already, and I wish you all the best in the exams. Now, my name as a facilitator had said, my name as the coordinator has said is Bukola Ogbenusi. I work in budget department. So basically, we're going to talk about understanding the budget process. We're going to do a brief introduction. We're going to talk about establishing linkages, the LSDP, the Teams Plus. We'll talk about budget as well. And then we'll talk about our Lagos State Budget Circle, the COFOG, and then some other snippets that I feel that everybody should know about once or twice. Now, talking about this lecture, I decided that there should be something catchy about budget that, if you think about it, it's like, now this is interesting. So I went to the internet, I got some things. And one of it is, a budget isn't a cage, it's your freedom plan. And you know that even we ourselves as individuals, when you have a budget, it's not as if it's constricting you to a particular level, but it's your freedom towards the future. Your budget, you might be planning towards your retirement, for instance. Me, I want to have a house in Banana Island. So it's one of my future plans. And then budget also tells you where your money is going to. Or if you don't know where it's going to, then you start to wonder, where did all this money that I had went? Because you actually did not budget for it. Budgeting itself actually makes your I wish into I had done this thing. You know, when you are still planning, you are wishing. But when you are strictly adhering to your budget, you can actually make your wish, your dream, come true. That's the I wish to becoming I did. When you are driving, for instance, you have a GPS which shows you the direction you are going to and stuff like that. So the budget process itself is like a GPS for your finances. It helps you keep track. If you know you're overspending now, you mellow down. And then you know that your processes, you have this, you have that, you have everything marked and planned. So it's that budget process that will keep you grounded so that you do not take the wrong turn. You know that when you are driving, your GPS will say turn left, turn right, turn kiniko. By the time you have made the wrong turn, you have to do another U-turn again. But budget process keeps you grounded so that you don't waste a lot of money in taking those turns. Budget is actually like your money's to-do list. And then I like this one very much. This is where numbers meet your goals for coffee. I mean, you have a date with your numbers, how much money you have, and your goals. That's what that one actually says. So basically, if your policies, your plans, and your budget are not linked properly, there's the possibility that you will not get anywhere. So those policies and the resources you are using to drive it are part of what the government does. You know, the government have priorities, they have policies. So all this linked together to establish a coherent budget that makes for development. So saying that now, is there any question? Can everybody hear me clearly, please?
Please use your emojis to confirm if she's audible. All right. Go ahead,
Okay, I
ma'am.
can go on. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, you know, I just talked about policy plans and budget linking together, that you have to be deliberate about it. For us in the state, we have something called the Lagos State Development Plan. That is the LSDP 2052. Now, what LSDP does is we linked LSDPC with a medium-term plans. Our medium-term basically is like a 3-year plan. So it links those together. And that our 3-year plan now dovetails into the annual budget. When we have our budget set, we do our implementation, monitoring, and evaluation. MPPB has something called the Performance Management Report. That Performance Management Report goes into details about what you have done well, what you have not done well, what lessons learned, what needs to be done. And this PMR feeds into the MTSS. The MTSS is actually like a 3-year plan. You know, our LSDP is like our global plan. And the present government of the day agenda is the Teams Plus, which had been merged together. And since we had a global plan, for instance, you can't just go into it, boom, and expect things to work out. Like, take, for instance, that my dream of having a house in Banana Island. I would not expect to have that house in Banana Island like this with a snap of my finger. I have to plan towards it. I might decide to go on a 3-year plan. Okay, I'm going to buy this property. I'm going to buy shares. I'm going to buy this. And now all those ones are like plans for 3 years. And in 1 year, that's the annual budget. I now implement it. When I implement that, my personal budget, I monitor and evaluate it to be sure that I'm actually on track. If I'm not on track, I would have detected it with my PMR. My PMR will now tell me, oh, no, you need to backtrack to correct this. Or, okay, you have actually achieved this, then there's time to move on to the next level. Okay. So, now for LSDP, there's some mysteries around that plan. You know, the LSDP itself, it's a policy document that came about from the harmonization of all existing high-level policy documents that have been operational in the state. You know, the last seeds era, Division 2020, the needs, the seeds, MDGs, the SDGs, all this had been advocated into the LSDP. So it actually captures all the strategic development plans that we have in the states and makes it into one harmonious, whole. This LSDP was actually launched in 2021. And the plan then was for it to be between 2022 to 2025. Now, when you look at the mystery surrounding the LSDP, I like to look at it as the 4 W's and the H, which is, what is it all about? Where is it happening? Who is it for? When is it happening? How will it happen? So those are actually the mysteries about it. And the mystery about the what is the vision of the state? Where is it happening? Lasgidi Wanoni is happening in Lagos State. Who is it for? It's for all the MDAs. Now, when it's done in phases, in 4 phases, how will it happen? It will happen through the structures, through our vision, our dimensions, the initiatives as well. So now let's go into it. So it says, what exactly is it all about? It's about the vision of our state. That vision that says we want to make Lagos State Africa's model mega city, a global economic and financial hub that is safe, secure, functional, and productive by 2052 for all of us in Lagos State. That is our vision in the state. And that is precisely what the LSDP is geared towards. So where is it happening? It's happening in our own very last Gidi, in our own Lagos State. And who is going to make it work? It is all the NDAs that are going to make it work. When will it happen? It's supposed to be a timeline, 4 different timelines between 2022 and 2023. That is immediate, like the low-hanging fruit. And then when you talk about the near terms, that's between 2024 and 2030. The medium term, we're looking at 2031 to 2040. Long term is from 2041 to 2052, which is where our plan is. Recall, we're talking LSDP 2052. You will notice that the low-hanging fruit had already, the scheduled time for it had already passed. So there's plan to review it, look at all the initiatives, see what is working, see what is not working, discount and add to it. Now, how will it happen? It will happen when we structure the LSDP by detailing our vision. We call that our vision, that we want to become Africa's model megacity. That is safe, secure, and functional and productive. Also a global and economic and financial hub. That is what our vision is. And to make that happen, we have 4 dimensions. And these 4 dimensions also have 21 focus areas, which will make us achieve our LSDP. And then we have 447 initiatives. These initiatives are strategic to make it work for us. So those 4 dimensions, what we're talking about, a thriving economy. Don't forget what our vision is. And that thriving economy has 8 focus areas that will ensure that our state is robust, healthy, and growing economy with adequate job and investment to ensure that we sustain that growth that we're talking about. Those are the 8 focus areas that we will look at under the thriving economy. Now, also, we said it's going to be safe, secure for all of us. So we need to look at our human-centric city. This one is focusing on 4 areas that will ensure that every single Lagosian, leaving no one behind, has access to affordable, world-class education, healthcare, and social services. That's the plan there. Now, for modern infrastructure, we're looking at 6 focus areas to ensure that Lagos State has a reliable, sufficient infrastructure that meets the need of the 21st century city. After all, it is Lagos. And then you know that we started the blue rail, the red line rail, excuse me, and all those are linking together to ensure that we have a modern infrastructure, our effective governance as well. This is to ensure that a supportive and enabling environment to create opportunities to all Lagosians. We basically have 3 focus areas here. So all this LSDP is to ensure that we leave no one behind in our plans. Now, the structure for the LSDP is this. You recall our 4 dimensions and our four dimensions, and all the focus areas are 21, while we have 447 initiatives, strategic initiatives, just not anything. Now, when we look at thriving economy, our focus area includes wholesale and retail trade. You look at the food and beverage manufacturing, shipping and logistics services, economy, so we have shipping. We also looked at the financial services, real estate, health and entertainment. We looked at the small, medium enterprises. We talked about building technological ecosystem. Those are what we're looking at for our focus area under thriving economy. Now, for human-centric city, our focus areas are on education and training. We also have health, housing, security, and safety, which, as you can see, it's all about the people, ensuring that the state is safe and secure for all citizens. Modern infrastructure. You look at the new modern urban centers, transportation, as I talked about earlier, the blue, the red line rail, amongst others, power and energy, the internet connectivity, water and sanitation, waste management. For effective governance, our focus area include digital transformation, revenue diversification. You know, if there's no money, nothing happens. Then there's also investment attraction. When you attract investment, obviously you get more patronage, you get more people, your citizens also get jobs. And then it's expected to reduce the crime rate, and it makes the state safer and secure. So you know that our LSDP is a larger plan, which also incorporates the governor's team agenda. So for the team's agenda, as usual, we all know that the T is for traffic management and transportation. The H is health and environment. The E is education and technology. M is making Lagos a 21st century. E is for entertainment and tourism. S is for security, governance, and finance. And the plus is about gender equality, social inclusions, and the youth. As you can see, all this is consistent with the Lagos State Development Plan. You know, the plan is like a dream. So to make the dream work, you need to be systematic in it. Our Lagos State Development Plan is a policy, and it is a priority of the state government. So for it to work, for the policies to work, we need plans to ensure that those priorities are put in place. And for the budget makes the sources fund for the priorities and make it real. So that's talking about policy, plan, budget, and linkages. For us in the state to make this possible, we have something called the MTEF. That's the Medium-Term Expenditure Framework. What this does is it links the policy framework to the budget through the strategic expenditure planning process. In this way, the policy of the government, the dream, is linked together through a plan that is strategic. And that plan is what we're going to budget for to make it work. If you do not plan well, if you do not budget well, nothing happens. And which is basically issues with a lot of institutions and sometimes some families as well. If you do not plan very well, your budget does not work. And then whatever you have planned is not going to work. So this MTEF is actually a 3-stage process. This 3-stage process, we have the MTFF. That's the medium-term fiscal framework. This way, we talk about the resources of the government. We aggregate that resources. But wherever the source of the money is, yes, this is where our money will be coming for that we're going to be spending. Then we'd also talk about the MTBF, which is the medium-term budget framework. This environment, what it does is it disaggregates the budget size. We have already gotten the funds. We know where our funds are coming from. So we now disaggregate, these are budget size. We already know that this is the size of the budget that we're having. Now we now disaggregate it among the 9 COFOG sectors. You know we have 9 COFOG sectors in the states. The only person that has 10, the only institution that has 10 is the federal government, which is defense, DD. So this MTBF disaggregates the budget size within all the 9 COFOG sector in the state, which is called intersectoral allocation. But before this happens, MEPB would have gotten the approval of the state ESCO on the MTBF before it's now disaggregated into sectoral envelopes that will now be sent to each of the sector champions. Under the MTEF as well, we have something that we call the MTSS. I'm sure majority of you would have heard about MTSS in your MDA. What MTSS actually does, it maps, it's like a roadmap for delivering government plans towards our dreams and plus the reality of it. So it looks at the deliverable. It also does a cost estimate about it and looks at all the programs, projects, and activity, and all this must be well costed. The MTSS itself actually forms the basis of the annual budget because, as I said, it links the government policy to programs and projects. Whatever the government policy is linked into program. When they talked about health, for instance, let's say the government says that reduce maternal mortality rates by 50% or something. The health sector will have programs and projects towards that. And that will now scale down to the people through the annual budget. That's when you have a Ministry of Health saying they have sensitization, they want to go and do antenatal, there's jingles on the radios and stuff like that. Those are some of the activities towards some of the projects within the sector. So if your project is not in the MTSS, ideally, it should not be admitted into the budget of the state. Because if you do not plan properly, nothing works. You should have known that within that 3-year range, you know that our MTSS, MTBF, MTFF, they are 3-year plans. And within those 3 years, you should have been detailing whatever your projects and programs are. For instance, if you want to do something that is like a 3-year plan, for instance, maybe you want to distribute learning aids for disabled children, for children with special needs in a school, and you have like maybe 1-5 of them in all those schools, and you have your MTSS. So that means you are planning within that 3 years to give the 1,500 children in those schools. So you would face it, okay, or maybe for the first year, I'm doing 500. The next year, I'm doing 450. And the other year, I'm doing the 550. So basically, that is what your MTSS does. So by the time you are planning for the next MTSS, you would have seen the project that you have done, that you will take off and then replace with another one. So in short, to be able to achieve your objective. I hope we're on track.
Yes, we are, ma'am. We are, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Now, this slide, I usually like people to tell me what they think about it. Can I have one or two people tell me what this image says to them?
Participants can raise their hand for that. Okay, Afiwajoye, unmute yourself. Your name, your ministry. Afiwajoye.
Hello.
Hello, ma. You have the
Hello.
floor. You are audible, ma.
Afiwajoye Tosi June from Lawsuit. This image shows the linkage between how the annual budget is shared and how the medium-term strategic plans are being done. So the tree is the government itself, and those fruits coming down are the policies. Then the process by which these policies are shared or are put into place is the MTSS, which is the sector strategies. Then they are using it through the budget, and it's being shared to different MDAs and government parastatals. This is actually what this illustration is showing, especially all that our lecturer has been saying.
All right. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Can another person try? iPhone. iPhone, what's your name? Your name, your ministry.
Good evening, ma.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening, sir. My name is Agu Judith Betty from General Hospital Shomolu, the Chief Public Affairs Officer. The picture depicts the tree, that is the government, shows that they are the ones that will initiate these policies, and then through the MTSS, the policies are being put in place, and of course, gathering the different policies to ensure that they plan for the state. And once the policies are being implemented for the betterment of the state and, of course, the citizenry through the budget, there's something that is not being implemented. And, of course, even the residents of the state, members of the public, will also get a feel of what government is doing, since it's all about public service. Thank you, ma. Thank you, sir.
All right. Thank you.
Okay.
Olumide Oladipupo, quick one. Your name, your ministry, so that we can proceed. Olumide, unmute yourself.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, everyone.
Go ahead. Go
My name
ahead.
is Olumide Oladipupo from Ministry of Economic Planning and Budget. So, looking at this illustration, on my view, the three labeled governments symbolizes like a foundation, the vision, the long-term objectives, which yields the fruits. And the fruits are the policies that give directions. So the MTSS is the gear towards the processes which will drive into the budget, and the human figures are the machines. Sorry, the human figures here are they represent the ministries and the activities that they will use their own strategies to tap into these resources, the budget resources, and the overall scene, is just an environment that shows progress of growth. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, ma. Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. You guys have actually done a fantastic job. I love the way you think. Yeah. So I basically don't think I have to say anything about this. But the policies remind me of juicy red oranges, yeah? That the MTSS is now grinding. 3-year program, 3-year sector strategies. And then now comes out, one of them comes out for the year 1, which is the budget that particular year. And that's we bottle. 1 year 2026 orange juice is ready. We now start to share through the MDAs to the citizens, and they now see the benefit of it. So thank you guys. You did a very, very fantastic job. Now, since we're talking MTSS and annual budget, what exactly is a budget? We all know what budget is now. A máa ń ṣe lójoojúmọ́. I budget for every time I get my salary. Mo gbé gègé lórí àbí mo gbé scale lórí. I'm budgeting now. I'm looking at what my incomes are and what my expenditures are. Tí bá dẹ̀ ti kọjá àyè mi, mo mọ̀ pé mo ti wọ deficit. But tí n bá kọjá àyè mi tó jẹ́ pé mo wà prudent dáadáa, mo mọ̀ pé mo wà in surplus because I have savings. But if I have deficit, that means that pé mo ti lọ yáwó níbì kan, mo ti jẹ gbèsè níbì kan. So basically that is just about it. So budget in the currency of the Oyinbos is actually the estimation of revenues, owó tí mo ní, and the expenses, owó tí màá ná síta, over a specific period. Kò lè jẹ́ ọdún kan lọ́nà. That is what we look at, denominated by my own naira currency. It could be the yen or dollar for those ones over there. But that's basically what budget is. It's about what you earn and what you spend over a particular period using a particular currency. Anybody can have a budget. I have a budget. You have a budget as well. The government has budget. The businesses have budgets. And all levels of income, everybody only budgets now. And so to preparing a budget is usually a very complex and multi-step process that involves, for us in the city, involves a lot of entities, the people themselves, the governor and the legislator. MEPB is presently we're preparing the budgets at the moment. We're close to the Asha to move that Asha. So that's basically, we are in that process right now. So we had begun like since August, and it's a grueling, intense thing, really. So for budget implementation itself, it's the actual functioning. Ṣé bíbá ni mo fẹ́ náwó sí? Ṣé bẹ́ẹ̀ ni mo ná sí gangan? What is my performance like in terms of my revenue, in terms of my expenditure? How did I execute all of this thing? So we know what budget is. Why do we budget then? What's the point of budgeting? I mean, it's all about talking about the clinical meeting, coffee, clinical. But what exactly is the reason why we budget? We budget so that we can map out our goals and achieving our objective. Remember, I want to buy a house in Banana Island. So I start budgeting towards it. That is my LSDP, a long-term goal. So how do I achieve it? I start to talk about my MTSS. But in this case, buying a house in Banana Island, I don't think I'm going to use an MTSS. But a 3-year plan, Shema buy me a house in Banana Island. Well, who knows? Maybe manna can come from heaven. So basically, it helps you to map up your goals towards achieving your objectives. It also helps you in controlling and preparing. It helps you in tracking your finances. For instance, as I said, I wanted to buy houses in Banana Island. Tó bá tún gbé aṣọ party ṣé 250,000 wá tí bá bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí rà. How would I achieve my goal? So my budgeting will help me in controlling my expenses, and it helps me in prioritizing my needs, matching it to available resources. Ṣé pẹ̀lú sálárì mi tó bá gbé aṣọ 250,000 wá lẹ́yìn tó gbé wá lọ́la, èló lowó mi, nǹkan mélòó ni mo fẹ́ rà pẹ̀lú ẹ̀? So my budget will help me prioritize what I actually need and match it against my resources. It ensures that this my salary, I'm able to stretch it to where we will be, so that before the end of the month, gobe. So this also curtails me from overspending beyond my needs. That basically controlling all my financial situation so that I would avoid financial embarrassment. I'm sure during civil service rule, there were talks about financial embarrassment and what the rules are in the state. So, and when I budget, it also helps me towards my retirement savings. Is it bonds that I'm doing? Is it shares I'm doing? Or am I going to go and get the poultry before I get to my Banana Island dream? So for government and businesses, it ensures that there's transparency in business and decision making. Why we also budget includes resource allocation. We can direct our resources to where the program is essential and what it's actually meant for, so as to contribute to national development. We budget so that we plan and implement effectively. All those are minimal resources, so that it can actually go towards the programs, policies, and projects that it is meant for. Budgeting also helps in policy priorities, helps in the government implementing its priorities, the LSDP, the Teams Plus. It's also about fiscal responsibility. It ensures that the spending of the government remains within its capacity. So that we have a debt level that we can actually sustain. It ensures accountability and that the execution phase is actually utilized as intended. If we budget properly, we should expect economic stability, growth, because it would have stimulated economic activities, created jobs, and improved overall well-being. So for government to budget is a crucial role in shaping a national development, policy direction, and financial stability. If we budget properly, our vision as a state will be realized. Now, there are different ways of determining the budget size, because basically budget is revenue and expenditure. Is it through the revenue approach or the expenditure approach? When we're looking at the revenue approach, we look at total revenue, all the revenues that are coming into the state, including federal transfer or our own capital receipt too. Even the loans, the financing that we're looking at, we'll also consider it. Now, the expenditure approach is about our total recurrent expenditure and our total capital. So, the budget deficit and surplus. You recall I said that before. Deficit èyí tó mo ti náwó kọjá àyè mi. That is the excess of total expenditure over available revenue. Tá a bá ti náwó ju iye ta ní as our own revenue, that's a deficit. Ọlọ́run ní jẹ́ ajẹ́gbèsè. Now, when you have a budget surplus, that's when your revenue itself is actually more than your expenditure. A ní owó wa pọ̀ in such a way that we have excess, that we've expended all our expenditure and we still have some balances. So recurring surplus is actually the total revenue all over the recurrent expenditure. That's the sum of the two ranges in budget. For the budget to work, the Lagos State government has a budget circle. And our budget circle begins with the review of what we had done before. And we have something that we call the revenue stakeholder consultation. In this consultation, MEPB invites the top revenue generating agencies to a discussion. While we would have sent out a template for revenue projection for all revenue generating MDAs in the state to give us their projection, is usually over a 3-year period. So the projection is supposed to show us what revenue these agencies are planning to get. And when we have this, we review at the meetings with the ones that come, and after the meeting, we review what revenue plans that they have. Their revenue initiatives are reviewed. And all this forms the basis of what our funds then is going to come in from. Because all the revenue generating MDAs would submit their projection for the year. This revenue projection, helps in preparing the fiscal papers. That is the MTFF. And while these papers are being prepared, all the economic indices are looked into. So the preparation of the MTBF and the fiscal paper, when this is done, ESCO has to approve the MTBF. Now, this MTBF, that is where our budget envelope comes in from. After the approval, there's an intra-sectoral disaggregation of this envelope, where MDAs are given the envelope based on the approval of the ESCO. Usually at this time, MDAs, the sector champions, will call a meeting of all the MDAs under this sector. And at this meeting, they will do disaggregation of the envelope to each of the MDAs. This is like a family meeting where you share, discuss, share Ogunsha. MEPB is usually at this meeting as an observer. So whatever the deliberation is, we just go there, we observe. And the sector champion is expected to send in the disaggregated envelope per MDAs to MEPB. MEPB also does something that we call the Budget Consultative Forum. This consultative forum is done in all the 5 divisions in the state, the Ibile. At this consultative forum, we get the input of the citizens about what they want within the locality, within their division. And we try to incorporate that after the meeting, because in this consultative forum, the invitation is for everybody. So including the professionals, the people with special needs, the royal fathers, the students, the social critics, and the medias are also invited. So the deliberations from this consultative forum is aggregated together into one. And that is what we send with our budget call circular to all the implementing MDAs based on what the request is. But mind you, resources are never enough. So it's within the constraints of the resources that MDAs are advised to look at the requests from the consultative forum. So MDAs are expected to incorporate those requests into their budget, so that the next year we go to them for budget consultative, they won't say, for the past 5 years, we've been asking you to do this road, to do this school, you have not done anything about it. But MDAs are expected to actually incorporate some of it into it, or all of it as part the budgets they can. After the call circular had been issued out, MDAs are expected to prepare the budget within a certain period. And then we send out invites. Within the call circular, there's usually the timetable for the budget bilateral discussions with the MDAs. At these discussions, MDAs come to the table with what they have. Most MDAs would want additional funds, but they never want to make additional money. So how do things work if there's no money? So at this bilateral discussions, the deliberations about revenue and expenditure. After the bilateral discussions, we have something that we call collation, which is actually consolidation of all budget estimates from all MDAs in Lagos State to become one solid document. After the consolidation, which is collation for us, we now send it down to STB for approval. The State Treasury Board is composed of some selected commissioners at this deliberation. So the STB takes a look at the consolidated estimates. If there are adjustments or otherwise, if MEPB does the adjustments, the final one approved by the STB is now sent to the ESCO, which is the State Executive Council. After due deliberation at the State Executive Council and approval by them, it is now presented as an appropriation bill to the House of Assembly. Mr. Governor presents it as an appropriation bill to the House of Assembly. Now, after due consideration by the House of Assembly, and they pass the bill, when the governor assents the bill, it becomes an appropriation law. While it's still in the House of Assembly, before getting there, it's still an appropriation bill. But when the governor signs it, it becomes an appropriation law. That means Otidobe. So when the appropriation law, to now make it real for MDAs to start spending, warrants are issued and budget guidelines are also issued out. Warrants are issued, signed by AC Finance and issued by AG. Then the budget guidelines is done by us, by MEPB. But we now start, this means we can start spending, which means we go into the budget implementation. Each MDA now starts to implement their budget, their project, their activities for the year. Then there is a budget performance monitoring and evaluation during the course of the year to be sure that everything is on track. So we have an active budget that actually works. So that's basically what the Lagos State budget cycle looks like. I like this diagram. It's basically what we had talked about, but it kind of shows the golden pen that they signed the budget into law. So basically, as I said earlier, appropriation law. So when it is signed, when the bill is signed by Mr. Governor, it becomes an appropriation law, which makes it a legal document that is binding on every single one of us. When you look at the budget, it's actually a law. There's a section in the Constitution that tells you that it's a law and you cannot run foul of it. So the section is Chapter 5, Section 121 of the 1999 Constitution. So if you have something in your budget, do not go and change it till there's a law backing it. So I basically went through the budget and said, okay, let's take a look at what the appropriation law says. It says it's a law that authorizes the issuance and appropriation of a certain sum of money from the Consolidated Revenue Fund, that's the CRF, and also a certain sum of money from the Development Fund for that particular year to the end, to December 31st of that year. The AG will authorize a warrant that is signed by HC Finance to pay out of the consolidation fund during that year. And no amount can be issued at the end of the year, be it dedicated, recurrent, which is the dedicated expenditure, the personnel cost, the overhead cost, and the subvention. Those are our expenditure leg. Now, AG will also authorize that the warrant is signed for development fund for the capital outflow, both the capital development and the capital expenditure. You know, our basic expenditure is either recurrent or capital. So each law specifies that the AG will authorize what has been signed by HC Finance. Now, access to funds. The AG, that's what the law says, should ensure that there's a seamless access to dedicated revenue and capital receipts earned by ministries, within ministries, departments, and agencies as approved by the law. You know that we have two types of revenue. There's a dedicated revenue and there's the CRF. That is the Consolidated Revenue Fund. Then there's dedicated revenue. This dedicated revenue is either recurrent or capital. That's when you have dedicated revenue. Then you have the capital receipts. Okay. So now, there are some agencies that have what is called divided by 12. So they have their fund released by 1/12 of the month, by the first week of every month. That's the standing rule for them. And all these agencies are like 9. So we talk about House of Assembly, the Judiciary, Judicial Service Commission, State Auditor General for Local Government, Audit Service Commission, LIRS, Procurement Agency, and LASHMA with their equity fund and contribution. The law also says that there's a monthly release of capital costs. That is 1/10 of the release that goes to the House of Assembly, and 1/9 goes to the Judiciary for their capital expenditure. So AG and HC Finance will also ensure that there is compliance with all the provision of the law. Otherwise, there will be sanctions to it. To show that there are rules and regulations for everything, HCMAPB and HC Finance and AG will ensure and seek approval of House of Assembly for any special expenditure above 500 million in the special expenditure vote. So it's not as if you can say HC Finance and HCMA people will sit together and say, let's do and do this 500 million. It cannot fly except with the approval of House of Assembly. MEPB, custodian, cannot use the special expenditure vote or contingency fund to fund any expenditure already in the budget of the MDAs without the approval of House of Assembly. So you cannot have planned for something in your budget and still come to MEPB and say, MEPB, yeah, now give me something from this now so that I can pull my, it's not legal. So other things I found out in the law, which is our budget, is that ACMEPB, AC Finance, and AG must forward a quarterly report on the financial status of the state. That's the revenue, the expenditure, our debt profile, and what funds have been released to MDAs. Must forward this to House of Assembly. If there's approval, if there's bond, we must get approval. So any revenue collected during that year, not expended within the preceding year, is not provided for by the law. It is an offense for any MDA to engage in extra budgetary expenditure, vehement or augmentation without seeking and obtaining approval from House of Assembly. There's even no vehement against it. The accounting officer of each MDA must ensure strict compliance with the provision of the law, or it will be liable. House of Assembly also has special committee that investigates and make appropriate recommendation on sanctions for any violation or breach of any of the provisions. So accounting officer needs to be careful so as not to commit serious misconduct. Otherwise, there will be disciplinary actions. So that's basically some of the snippets in our appropriation law, which is the budget. The Lagos State budget are components, if you look at it. Basically, we talk about revenue and expenditure, which is what it is all about, really. So for our revenue, we have the internally generated revenue, which is the IGR. Under our IGR, we have the LIRS. Every other MDA is merged together as IGR orders. So LIRS is the only standalone revenue line. We also have the dedicated revenue. This is actually revenue earned by an MDA, and it is specific for a purpose and will be spent by that MDA as the dedicated expenditure. So one of our other component of our budget is also investment income. We also have extraordinary income. That is money that we did not actually expect, but it's coming in. We have a line now that we call the opening balance, which is actually revenue from the previous year that we're bringing back into this year. We have capital receipts. This capital receipt is basically capital in nature. So we have grants, and we also have other capital receipts, which is from other MDAs like lands, new town development, motor vehicle, MBAA. So under our revenue, we have the federal transfer, which includes the statutory allocation, the value-added tax, electronic money transfer, other fact transfers, the 13% derivation. And if there's any financing requirement, there is really, which includes external loans, others, internal loans, bonds, and issuance. Our expenditure, basically how we spend our money, is total recurrent expenditure, which talks about all our personnel costs, people salary and wages, the overhead cost itself. And then our capital expenditure is our core capital. Our capital attention, obviously, you buy furniture, you buy laptop, you buy cars and stuff like that, all those capital. The capital development are usually expended by the agencies that have capital receipts. Typically, a typical budget summary is this, which is basically some of the things I'd already talked about. So, now we've gotten approval. We are past the budget. So how do we now execute the budget and implement? This is when we start to spend the money, as they say, to double. So, but when Toba DWE, we need to use the operational guideline that will be issued by MAPB so as to ensure that there's proper authorization and proper approval before you expend. Budget implementation commences after warrant is issued. So the warrants are basically provisional warrants, the general warrant, and the development warrant, which will be issued by AC Finance. And HCMAPB will actually do a budget analysis and we issue out the budget guidelines. So we're ready to spend. NDAs, all NDAs execute the budget either through their personnel costs, overhead costs, or their capital expenditure. Now, when you want to expend, you need to ensure that you get the appropriate authority, which is either Mr. Governor's approval or Mr. Deputy Governor's approval or HCMAPB's approval before anything is processed. I understand that some states, it's only the governor that approves, but in Lagos State, to make things more efficient, we have all those personnel ensuring that the approvals are granted. Now, all expenditure requests, when it gets to MEPP, are usually processed within 48 hours. As long as all your documents are intact. Otherwise, MEPP will force to write you for additional information. Now, responses, including that response of asking you for additional information, including approval when you get approval, must be conveyed to all the MDAs within 48 hours. Now, we said that there are appropriate authorities for approval. So, delegation of financial authorities and approval. Mr. Governor has no approval limit for his recurrent and capital expenditure. However, Mr. Deputy Governor's recurrent approval limit is 5 million. And for special project and capital, his approval limit is 10 million. For milestone projects, unawarded capital projects, his approval limit is 50 million. HCMAPB for capital and special expenditure, his approval limit is 50 million. For recurrent, it is 5 million. It used to be 2.5 before, but it's now 5 million. Chief of Staff for Mr. Governor and Deputy Governor's expenses, he actually has no limit. But for other recurrent, his approval limit is 500,000, and that is limited strictly to Mr. Governor's office. This is the approval limit and how we're spending. But however, because we've been granted approval does not mean that we should not monitor your budget. So if we monitor your budget, why exactly do we need to monitor a budget? It's basically to reduce the incidence of abandoned projects. If we do not, that MEPB has the monitoring and evaluation department. They basically monitor your budget and they evaluate it, looking at the impact assessment of your project. Now, so it's basically to reduce the incidence of abandoned projects, because if you have had allocations for this particular project and you did not do anything about it, I mean, that means we have abandoned project. That means the citizens are not satisfied. That means the citizens feel that they've been betrayed and then there's failure on the part of the government. You recall that implementation of all those projects and policies is through the MDAs. So it's also to ensure that funds are not diverted to where it is not planned for at all. Because if you divert funds, how would you do a project? So it curtails you diversifying from a set target. It's also to ensure that there's value for money. Essentially, to ensure that the budget performance improves. For Lagos State, the ways we monitor our budget is the periodic review. We analyze revenue and expenditure You will notice that your MDAs are expected to send in their revenue and expenditure returns every 5th of the month of the preceding month. Let's say we're in November now. So we would expect that your revenue and expenditure returns to get to MAPB by the 5th of this November. October returns should be in MAPB starting from the 5th, on or before the 5th of this November. So basically, when we get that, there's a data entry section, we key it in and we analyze what you have spent based on what has been profiled. So there's an Oracle system, Oracle PSB, that is used for comprehensive budgeting, performance measurement reporting, using specialized research and statistical activities. So as I said, your monthly returns, revenue and expenditure must get to MAPB on or before the preceding month. And this data will be reviewed at the 8th of the preceding month. And the performance, every quarter, we have to give a performance report. Recall it's part of the rule. So what MEPB does is when we do this, there's a quarterly performance report that we give. So we work in conjunction with the Ministry of Finance to ensure that we have all those reports ready. So what do we use as a monitoring tool for our budget in Lagos State? We use the appropriation law, which is the approved budget. We use the budget implementation reports. That's a monthly, quarterly, and annual report. The financial regulation is also a tool. MEPB's prepayment inspection. There's a project verification. NGOs and CBOs and medias are also independent monitors. You know, sometimes you just see some reports, budget, you just see some reports in the newspapers. They are MDAs, they are external bodies, independent monitors that are actually looking at your budget, because the budget is a public document and somebody can pick it up and do a research on it and say, okay, you guys said you spent so amount to curb malaria, and there's still high incidence of death from malaria. Can the government explain? So part of the monitoring tool is also the finance and the internal audit checks. You know, you have internal auditors who also checks all this expenditure. The State Auditor General also audits all MDAs. Of course, the PAC of the House of Assembly are also there. So I now went through some definitions. Revenue, I think I talked about this along the way. Ordinary revenue is actually your IGR, which is your internally generated revenue. MDAs, all MDAs collect it and they remit it into the CRF accounts. That's what the Constitution says. And the CRF is like a pot which all monies come into. But all these monies, there are some exceptions that do not go into the CRF. That's the dedicated revenue. And this dedicated revenue is collected by an MDA and is retained for spending by that MDA for a specific service. You have hospitals that are doing, hospitals have dedicated revenue, MVAA, LASPA, lands. Some MDAs have this. And this dedicated revenue is specifically for certain things. And it only happens because they need to have that running, so it will not be delayed. There's a standing order for the general hospitals, for instance, by Mr. Governor, so that every year they can spend this, and it's really spent on operation, stuff like that, things that revolve within the hospital. Another term, recurrent expenditure. As the name says, it's something that keeps recurring, something that you do on a daily, on a regular basis. So it's not for fixed asset. So you cannot come to MEPB now and say you want to buy a car using a VOC that starts with an 01, which is a recurrent vote. So it's something that helps the organization for their daily operations. That's what recurrent is about. So it includes regular payment and expenses, salary, wages, and it's actually matched to the revenue. For us in Lagos State, our recurrent expenditure is our personnel costs and overhead. That overhead covers our running costs and provision of salary on a daily basis. The personnel costs is all about salaries and allowances. Running costs, some people will say, I'm actually a running cost. It's not for sharing. It's essentially for running of the organization. You want to come from your agency to another agency, basic thing that you use in running your operation. So it includes utilities, salary, maintenance, and running costs for your fuel, insurance. So this is crucial for an agency to function effectively and efficiently. That's for recurrent expenditure. Now, the capital expenditure is the money that is spent to buy, maintain a fixed asset, such as ileo, vehicles, equipment, and land, and it can only be expended on capital items, not on recurrent items. So the capital expenditure, like a newly purchased car, is used during that lifetime. So you cannot use anything other than capital for you can only use capital vote for a capital expenditure. Another term that I'm sure you are familiar with is the AIE. That is actually authority to incur expenditure. This is when agencies can tap into the statewide votes that is actually domiciled in MEPB. Some of our statewide votes includes the purchase of office equipment, vehicles, furniture. The AIE, when it is issued from MEPB, the AG, the Permanent Secretary AG, and the State Auditor General must be notified about it, as just said. Now, what is COFOG? COFOG is classification of functions of government. So as I said earlier in my presentation, defense is the only one that does not belong to Lagos State, to the states. So the 9 sectors, I've listed them out as GPS, POS, EP, ACAH, RCRE, and SP. I'm sure majority of us can guess. Can you, ladies and gentlemen, do me a favor? Type in which of this function group your MDA falls under. Just say the name of your MDA, which function group it falls into. So GPS is general public sector, POS is public order and safety, EA is economic affairs, the E is environment, housing and community amenities, health, recreation, culture and religion, education, social protection. Those are the 9 function groups which we call sectors in Lagos State. Now, rounding up, there's something that called the National Chart of Accounts. This is actually something from the federal, and it's harmonization of all charts of account at the federal, at the state, at the local government into one standard chart of account. That's the National Chart of Account, and it is mandatory for all states to use the National Chart of Account. It actually provides the platform for budgeting, accounting, reporting of all government financial transactions, showing the dimension that the budget can be analyzed, and it systematically lists the accounts used by an entity to define each class for which the money or equivalent is spent or received. This is basically to show transparency and ensure that money is actually spent judiciously where it is meant to be. So, therefore, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening. Any questions?
Thank you so much, ma. Let me see your emojis to appreciate our facilitator for this practical, impactful session. Your emojis, let it keep on coming. So now, before we go into the next section, which is a question and answer, I would like to roll out the instruction again. One, actually, we don't normally like to take a question from any gadget that's any anonymous name. So secondly, it's okay. Thank you for that emojis. Secondly, if you are called on, your name, your ministry, and please your question. So don't ask question outside the topic, and please don't bring your office issue here. So if you want to solve any issue, you can go and meet the facilitator in the office and settle that. But for the benefit of knowledge, let us go straight to the point. Okay, I will call on Olanigan Hussein Kehinde. You have the floor. Olanigan, unmute yourself from your end. Is Olanigan still there? Okay, I think he's not with us. Okay, let me run through chat box to see if you have any question. You deserve Professor Emeritus award, madam. Okay, so we have turned this place to Unilab. No problem. Oshidipe Omobusayo, unmute yourself, your name, your ministry.
Good evening, sir. Good evening, ma'am. My name is Oshide Kwamabusai Fawzia from Office of Internal Audit. Please, I just want to take us through reorder. Thank you, sir.
Please, can you come again with your question?
I heard that.
Okay, you had that. Okay, all right, no problem.
She wants to know about reordering. Abby?
Musa, you can still unmute yourself to confirm that.
Yes, ma. Yes.
All right.
Yes, ma. Yes, ma.
Okay. Can I go ahead?
Go ahead, ma.
Okay, so reordering is actually moving of fund from areas where it's not being utilized to areas where it is required, high priority areas. So it usually happens when during the course of the year when exigency of the states budgets are reviewed. We usually get quarterly. We analyze the budget quarterly, see how much you're spending, what you're spending on. So some agency actually do have a budget, but they do not expend the budget according to the profile. we have a profiling. And this profiling actually shows when your revenue are coming in and when you're going to spend the money. So sometimes there are cases where there's exigency for the state. So you need to move from areas where it's not being utilized to the areas where it is urgently required. So basically that's what it is, moving from one to another.
Okay, ma. Thanks for that, ma. Oluwole Adisa, Oluga, unmute yourself. Your name, your ministry.
Thank you very much. My name is Oluwole Adisaluga from Education District 5. I want
All right,
to
sir.
ask, we know that environment has been stopped, but can we say in next that reordering will be a synonymous to environment? Thank you.
Can I ask you a question, sir? What is environment itself?
Environment is pulling fund from where it is not really used to another place where it is needed. You via. Sometimes some people via from capital to recurrent. But since now say reordering, of course, as a sort of exigency in the state. So you might be since there's no longer environment, can we say reordering is a synonymous to environment?
Well, actually, it depends on how you look at it. Because if we look at the definition of environment and we say it's transferring from one area to another, but that is usually within an MDA. Now, reordering sometimes is from one MDA to another MDA. So for me, it's not the same.
All right. Olanigan, you say Kehinde.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, sir.
Yeah, the question I wanted to ask, somebody has already.
Where's your ministry? Your ministry, sir.
Oh, sorry. My name is Olanigan Zain Kehinde from Ministry of Local Government, Chieftaincy Affairs and Rural Development. I wanted to ask a question on the but that has been attended to now.
All right.
I really appreciate Madam for all the lectures. I really read every bit of her lectures. Thank you. I really appreciate it.
Okay. Thank you, sir, for that. Olayinka Abiodun Olayiwola, your name, your ministry.
My name is Olayiwola Olayinka from the Ministry of Housing. My question is in respect of the FAC allocation from the federal government to states. Where exactly is that being utilized in the budget, or it has a special intervention account, or where exactly, how exactly is it being utilized in the state budget?
Okay, the FAC goes into CRF, and the CRF is like a pot of soup that is shared by everybody. Does that answer your question, sir?
I think absolutely. Oshidipe Busayo.
Good evening, sir. I only wanted to add to or address what the
Your ministry.
scholar. Okay. Oshidepo, Office of Internal Audit. I spoke earlier, asking the different, when he was asking if environment and reordering are the same. So I only wanted to speak to that. The environment is just, okay, can you hear me, sir? Okay.
Go
The
ahead.
environment is just when you move money from a sub-head to another sub-head under the same head, that is within the same MDA, taking money from, let's say, training and then moving it to another sub-head. That's environment. But from reordering, based on what in the lecturer taught us this slide, environment is from one MDA to another MDA due to the contingency. Thank you, sir.
Okay. So France, no.
Please mute yourself. Please mute yourself. Is that Mr. Kehinde again?
29. But you're ready for my plan.
All right. Ogunlana Nimota.
Yes, good evening, everybody. My name is Ogunlana Nimota. I work with the Lagos State House of Assembly Service Commission. My question is, what qualifies an MDA to request for AIE, that is authority to incur expenditure? Thank you, ma.
Okay. No, thank you. Usually, sometimes the MDAs are request for AIE as either they've obviously expended all their line, and in the interest of the state, they will now make that request. If there's fund in the AIE, why not? Does that answer your question, my sister?
Yes, I'm good. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, ma. Oshidipe, you have asked question. So Temitope Adesanwo.
Good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon, ma.
Good afternoon, ma.
Good evening. Sorry.
Good evening, ma.
So my question is in line
Your
of
ministry, ministry, ma.
Sorry, sir. Office of Internal Audit, sir.
Okay, ma.
So my question is still in line of that environment, because we always have instances where MDAs go to MEB and say they obtain approval for utilization of votes. Ma, can you please clarify that part? That's okay. We don't have environments, but people still go to MEB to obtain utilization. Thank you, ma.
Okay, you're welcome. Okay, sometimes MDAs come to MEPB. Some MDAs go to Mr. Governor or Mr. Deputy Governor without using the right vote of charge. So if you do not use the right vote of charge and you get approval on that, you actually cannot expend the fund. When they are asking for utilization, sometimes it's not because there's no fund in the VOC that they are supposed to use. Sometimes there are errors in one of the lines. You understand? So sometimes there are errors in the segment. So in order to correct that error in the segment, MEPB does utilization for them and it gets another approval. But I'm not saying that it does not happen once in a while that an MDA might not have fund in a particular VOC and they now ask for utilization. That usually comes when the approval had not been granted by MEPB, because when we analyze the budgets and we do the submission to the authorities that will approve, we would have validated that they are using the right VOC and there's actually sufficient balance in that. But however, if they get approval from Mr. Governor now, using the wrong VOC, and it's in the interest of the state, that is when MEPB will do utilization of VOC for them. It's not something that we encourage. But when Olorioku has approved, it's a bit difficult to... Do you get what I'm saying?
Yes, ma. Thank you, ma.
Does that clarify it or?
Yes, to some extent, ma.
Okay. What's your doubt, please?
Yeah,
What's
because
your concern?
my concern is now, towards the end of this year, that the year is running out now, you see some MDAs, maybe in their, maybe, let me use, training, there's no vote. They've written, they've written, there's no vote. But by the time the approval arrives, then there's no vote again. They don't say, there is vote in special duties, though, and they want to use special duties. So how do they go? How do we go about that?
That's actually not encouraged, as I told you, because MEPB would have validated that request actually had sufficient funds before we send it down to our principal who will approve. If it does not have sufficient funds, we will write the MDA intimating them about it. You know, in our budget processing, we have actually, during our last, we've been doing that for a while. We've been trying to ensure that MDA actually budget appropriately on the appropriate line. And we have told them to decongest the special duties. So there's no way you can hide under special duties for training. It doesn't work.
So are you okay? Is that taking? Okay. Jimo Babatunde, you have the floor. Jimo Babatunde, you have the floor. Your name, your ministry.
Good evening, ma.
Good evening,
I'm Jimo Babatunde Dauda. I am Jimo Babatunde Dauda, Education District 6. I know it is good and better if all ministries, departments, and agencies are generating revenue. But I quickly want to know, ma, that is it compulsory for all the MDAs to generate revenue? And what type of revenue is Ministry of Education generating? Thank you, ma.
Okay. If the MDA does not have a way of generating revenue, they don't necessarily have to generate revenue. Your education, you know, at one time, the education district, they were renting out the car park, being convenient that they were using for parties and stuff like that at one point in time. That was where the revenue was coming from. And now I think it's only maybe your district is the only one generating revenue in all the MDAs, and I think it's coming from training. So the MDAs will be in the best position to say where the revenue will be coming in from. But the sources of revenue that I know for the district, for the education districts, is either that car park thing, that party setting thing at one point in time. And I think it was scrapped by somebody or so. And I think Education District 6 or so is the one that is using one of the training hall or training center. That's where revenue is coming from. Majority of education districts hardly generate revenue. Does that answer your question, sir?
Thank you, ma. Yes, ma. Perfectly, ma. Thank you, ma. I'm grateful, ma.
Okay. Mr. Okay, Ogunubi Adeniyi. Unmute yourself, your name, your ministry.
Good evening. My name is
Good evening,
Adeniyi
sir.
Ogunobi
All
from
right.
Office of Local Government Establishment and Training. I want to appreciate my darling sister for that good presentation. But going to my question, I just need a clarification on who issued the warrants. Because I was going through one of the past questions for this our exam, the previous one. There they spoke about AC, HC, Finance, issuing it. In another place, they spoke about the AG. So on this note, I decided that let me bring it on board so that let there be clarification for every one of us on this platform. Thank you.
Okay, sir. So, AC Finance signs. As you notice in the snippets I gave about the authorization. So AC Finance will sign and then it's issued by the AG.
It's okay. So in other words, it's the AG that issued it. AC Finance just signed.
It will sign you.
It's okay.
AC Finance will not
But the
sign.
question is who issued it? You've clarified it. It's AG. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Ogunobi. Thank you, ma, for that response. Oluwole Adisa Oluga. Oluwole Adisa Oluga. Unmute yourself from your end. Are you still with us?
Yes, I'm with you.
Okay. You have the floor.
No, I have asked my own question. I was one who asked about environment and
Oh, okay. Okay.
It has been answered.
Okay. Babatunde Taiwo, your name, your ministry.
Thank you so much, coordinator. My name is Tar Babatunde from the Ministry of Local Government, Chieftaincy Affairs and Rural Development. Please, first and foremost, I want to thank the facilitator for a web package presentation. Thank you so much, ma. I just want to make a comment with regards to what my chairman said earlier on, as Mr. Ogunobi, on the issue of who issues the warrant. Constitutionally, the law says it is the Honorable Commissioner for Finance. So the issue of the fact that it is AG that issued it or not, statutorily, it is the responsibility of the Honorable Commissioner for Finance. He signs it, he is the authority, is the signing authority. So he is still the one that issues it. It is not the AG. He issues it to the AG, directing the AG to release funds for expenditure in the course of that year. So let's not twist it and confuse ourselves about it. Thank you so much.
All right, sir. Thank you for your input and the clarification. I'm trying to check in the chat box if I can see anyone. Most of the questions have been answered. Okay, RTT, unmute yourself, your name, your ministry. RTT.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much, sir. I'm Taiwo. Just additional comment on that, sir. Both the people that have commented on those issues of warrants so far, they are all correct, sort of. The matter is that the the HC Finance, Commissioner of Finance.
Are you still with us, Mr. Taiwo? Hello, we can't hear you.
Issue. clearly everywhere, but issued by the Accountant General. A circular issued by the Accountant General. Hello? Hello?
Okay,
Hello?
you can
Hello?
yeah, you
Hello?
can
Hello? 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 Hello?
that, sir. Yeah.
Hello,
Hello,
sir.
hello. You are audible now. You are audible now, sir.
Okay. Okay. It will now be conveyed by a circular by the Accountant General, so that the general public, the service wide, will be aware. That circular will be addressed to all accounting officers, so that sub-accounting officer, that is accountants, and officer controlling expenditure, those who are controlling votes, will be aware, and planners will also be aware. So that circular, since it's from the Office of Accountant General, Office of Accountant General is also called Treasury Office, is a treasury circular. So that is what is happening. So it will look as if it is the AG that is issuing, whereas AG is actually receiving instruction from a cabinet member that is representing Mr. Governor, which is in line with provision of the Constitution. If we check chapter 1 and part 1 of it, it's clearly written there. Thank you very much, sir.
Okay. Can't hear you again, sir. Okay. Rahim Busari, you have the floor.
Okay. Good evening, our organizer. Good evening, presenter.
Rahim Busari, are you still with
Yes,
us?
I'm with you. Good evening, sir. Can you hear me, sir? Good evening, sir.
Hello?
Hello, sir. Can you hear me, sir?
Rahim Busari.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Hello, sir. Hello, sir. Hello. Can you hear me, sir?
Logun.
Hello, good evening, ma'am. Good evening, sir. Hello, good evening, ma'am.
Good evening.
Good evening, sir.
I am Logu Shakiruddin.
Your yeah.
I am Logu Shakiruddin, Local Government Service Commission.
Go ahead, sir.
Thank you, sir. Ma'am, I want to ask about 3 questions all in one, ma'am. The first one is that what is the difference between vote controlling and charging to vote? That is one. The second question
all right, sir.
is you mentioned the national chart of accounts. Is it domesticated for the state, or the state will have to fashion out our own? Then the third one is the legality of a budget. Is any alteration to budget framework also known as budget padding? Those would be my question, ma. Thank you, ma.
Okay. I don't understand you. You mean budget padding? That's illegal now.
Yes, ma'am.
Or maybe I didn't get the question well.
I said, is any alteration to the budget framework the same as budget padding, ma? That's the third question, ma.
You can't alter the budget if it's been passed now. It's been passed into law. That will make it illegal.
All right.
Except if I don't get what you're saying.
Well, something like that. Because I understand that budget as a framework, the legality, once it has been signed into law, it becomes illegal for anyone to tamper with it.
Yeah, there's not, you can't alter it. You know that even when there's reordering, we still have to go to House of Assembly to get the approval, and then the governor signs again.
All right, ma'am.
So you cannot unilaterally. Sorry, I missed. What was your second question, please?
The first question, I said, what's the difference between charging to vote and vote controlling?
Chama, I don't know that one. No. I think the accountants are likely to tell you that more than me.
Oh, all right, man. Then how about the National Chart of Accounts?
Oh, yes. It's all states are supposed to now be using the National Chart of Accounts. So everybody is
Okay, so they would have to domesticate the national to their own state individual.
No, it's something that all states are doing.
All right, man.
Yeah.
Well taken, man. Thank you very much, man.
Thank you.
Okay. Let's pick two more before we end today's call. Adetunji Sunday Adeyinka, unmute yourself.
Okay, good evening, everybody. I want to.
Good evening. Your name, your
Just as you
ministry.
have seen, my name is Adetunji Sunday, from the Ministry of Economic Planning and Budget. I want to thank the presenter very well. I just want to answer the question of the last speaker, talking about vote charging and vote control. Yeah, it's very easy. You see, when you have a line, you have a line, and there is amount of money, opening balance there, as you are charging, as you are utilizing that particular money, it's depleting.
Yeah.
You are charging into it. It's a code. You are charging into it. Then the control of it is just like she has said in the presentation. You are monitoring it as it is depleting. It's a pity that, at times some people will charge into the vote. They keep on writing submission, not controlling it. And at the end of the day, they will charge to it and there will be no fund again to accommodate whatsoever they have written last. At that moment, it will fail fund because you are not controlling it. So vote charging is that you are spending the money. You are charging to that particular line. The vote controlling is monitoring it. And that is why when you want to write a submission, at times you go to the account. What is the balance in the vote?
The vote.
Then you are controlling it. That is just it. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Okay, thank you so much, sir, for that beautiful contribution, sir. On this note, I'm trying to check the chat box. I think most of the questions here have been answered. So on this note, as our normal norms here, we call on any of participants to give vote of thanks on behalf of the participants. So I will call on one person. Okay, Mr. So, Mr. Shakiruddin Logun, sir, mute yourself, sir. All right, sir. You have assignment to do for us, sir, on behalf of the participants. So, I want you to give vote of thanks to the facilitator, sir, so that we can call it a day, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you for the privilege, sir.
Yes, sir.
I would like to, on behalf of all other participants and the host of the Public Service Knowledge Sharing Hub, thank you immensely for this wonderful facilitation and knowledge sharing session. Without much ado, I would say you have shared the very part of your evening with us, which we will truly appreciate. And we pray that Almighty God shall be your fortress in all fronts. It shall increase your knowledge. And by the time we all give glory to God for our forthcoming assessment, you shall be part of the success story, ma. So thank you.
Amen.
And have a good night's rest, ma. Thank you very much, and enjoy the rest of your evening and weekend, ma. Thank you, ma.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much, ma. Let me see your emojis to complement that prayer from Mr. Logun. So the last announcement tomorrow by 12 o'clock has to do with chapter 10. At the same time, visit our YouTube channel for our past sessions. We have it as you want it. If you get there, you can navigate. If you don't see some section on video, just navigate to live to access it. Oladeyinde Monsurat, you have anything to say so that Oladeyinde Monsurat? Okay, no problem. Okay, thank you so much. See you tomorrow by 12 o'clock. I will send the information across, the update across all our channels. Thank you. God bless you. Have a lovely night rest. Thank you very much, Mrs. Bukola. Thank you so much, ma. And everyone that's contributed to this session. I thank you all. Bye.
Okay, good night.
Good night, ma.